right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for sharing your Football Friday with us. My name is Kristin Andrejko. I graduated in 2019 with a major in science business, and I recently completed a Ph.D. in epidemiology from Berkeley. And today I want to share a little bit about my path into public health, which is something we've all become a little bit more familiar with the last couple of years. So I started at Notre Dame, and I really have to say it's the experiences I had as a Notre Dame student that really cultivated my passion and interest in public and global health, and that's more or less what I want to focus on today. And so my message, if there are any students in the room, I know many of you are probably out enjoying your Football Friday as you should, is that your path to public health can really start now. And there are so many different ways that you can become involved in public health. If you're an epidemiologist or a biostatistician and you like designing studies and working with numbers, that's great, and that's the route I chose. But you could also be the physician who's counseling patients about the importance of vaccinations, or you could be the architect who's designing safe water and hygiene sanitation systems, or you could be an economist who's working on cost-effectiveness evaluations to determine whether or not vaccine programs are effective to implement in different populations. And so the beauty of public health, as I see it, is that it draws on so many different people from different disciplines, and everyone has a role in creating healthy communities. And I was attracted to public health because I really like the idea that you don't have to wait until someone comes into your clinic as a patient to help them. It's a really preventative science where the goal is to create systems and structures that are healthy in healthy communities. Another thing I've loved about public health is that as an epidemiologist, you can transfer your skills to a variety of different pathogens. And so I'm an infectious disease epidemiologist, and in my short career so far, I've had the privilege of working on 3 of my favorite pathogens, which are on the screen now. Plasmodium falciparum, which is the parasite that causes malaria, Streptococcus pneumoniae, which is a bacteria that causes pneumococcal infections or pneumonia, and then the one we all know and are very familiar with now, SARS-CoV-2. And so I'll kind of walk you through how I've kind of worked in this space, and like Kylie was saying, it somewhat feels like a really nice and organic story now, but it certainly didn't feel like that at the time. And so when I was a freshman at Notre Dame, the summer after my freshman year, I had an opportunity to work with a nonprofit in South Africa called One Sun Health. And One Sun Health aims to promote sustainable, locally driven solutions to public health challenges, and has centered most of its work around malaria prevention. And so I worked with community health workers to develop and implement a education program to train community health workers in a train-the-trainer model, and then also the residents on malaria signs, symptoms, prevention, and treatment. And throughout that summer, one question I got many times from the community members and the community health workers I got to work alongside was, we have all these other great vaccines. Why don't we have a good vaccine for malaria? And it was a question I just didn't know the answer to. And so it piqued my curiosity, and I wrote a grant for the Nanovic Institute at Notre Dame to meet with some folks in Switzerland who were working on the development of the malaria vaccine and in the malaria vaccine pipeline. And one thing kind of snowballed into another, and the next summer I found myself at the World Health Organization as an intern. And I wasn't in the malaria vaccine world, but I was loosely in the immunization group where I was working on the pneumococcal conjugate vaccine. And it was during this summer where I helped with meeting preparations for a consultation essentially of medical doctors, epidemiologists, economists, all those various stakeholders I was talking about earlier, to come into the room and decide whether or not there's enough evidence to update vaccine policy around this vaccine. And honestly, the conclusion was largely that there wasn't. There was a dearth of head-to-head studies directly comparing vaccine products across vaccine schedules, things we're all a little bit more familiar with now in the COVID world. And what this did is tell me, I see all these research evidence gaps. I really want to learn how to design these studies to address these evidence gaps that can then directly inform policy, which has the ability to touch thousands and thousands of lives. And so I came back to Notre Dame and begged my way into a bunch of the Global Health grad school courses to learn some more biostatistics, and ended up the next summer at CDC. And in CDC, I kind of transitioned back to malaria, so again, not a totally linear path, and had the privilege of working on 2 different studies, both looking at the safety of various anti-malarial drugs for use in pregnancy. And this was the summer that really made me interested in research and science and the scientific process. And so I just decided that I wanted to go to grad school, and so I pursued a PhD in epidemiology. I knew I wanted to learn how to design vaccine studies for respiratory pathogens, and I think we can all see where this is going. So I started grad school at the end of 2019, and COVID hit 2020. And my whole dissertation ended up being this case control study that I conducted in partnership with the California Department of Public Health, where along with several research aims, it served as a platform to monitor and assess vaccine effectiveness. So we were one of the first community surveys to come out and produce US-based estimates of VE after the Epsilon variant, which no one remembers, was circulating in California. It also served as a platform to assess risk factors for SARS-CoV-2 infection, so where are folks actually getting infected in the community. We produced estimates of how well masks are working, which is the graphic you can see on the slide, which was widely shared at the time. And it was really just like a tremendous opportunity to be a part of research that was kind of at the forefront of the news, but also coming out very quickly. And so just to quickly conclude, there are kind of three takeaways that I have from here, some that might not feel directly relevant to what I talked about, but the first is never underestimate the power of a cold email. So when I was pursuing a lot of these opportunities, every single one of them came from cold emails that I sent. I pursued a lot of these things because of connections I had with donors and various alumni who work in these global health think tanks. And so a compelling email with some source of funding that you can put together from the various opportunities you have on campus can really open a lot of doors for you. The second is curiosity is compelling. You have the ability at Notre Dame to pursue whatever it is that you're interested in, and you should take advantage of that because it's this really unique and precious time in your life to pull the thread on the things that interest you the most. And the last, mentorship matters. Surround yourself by really wonderful mentors who can help cultivate your curiosity and help push you forward through a path that is something that you're both interested in. And if that's the case, you're going to have a really interesting career. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.